In the Fisherville neighborhood, there is a massive, rusty, 90-foot-tall railroad trestle bridge looming ominously over Pope Lick Creek. To most, it looks just like an aging piece of industrial architecture, but to the locals, it's the hunting ground of a terrifying cryptid known as the Pope Lick Monster, or simply the Goatman. Picture this: a grotesque hybrid creature with the upper body of a man and the fur-covered legs and hooves of a goat. And of course, sharp horns protruding from a pale, upsetting face. The stories about where this thing actually came from are all over the place. Some locals say he's the twisted reincarnation of a dark magic farmer who made a deal with the devil. Others claim he was a mistreated circus freak who escaped after a train derailment, vowing violent revenge on anyone who crosses his path. But the scariest part of the lore is how he hunts. According to the legend, the Goatman uses dark hypnosis and voice mimicry, sounding exactly like someone you know and trust, to lure unsettling thrill seekers up onto the tracks at night. Once they're trapped on the narrow wooden ties of the bridge, the creature either attacks them with a rusty axe or holds them down until an oncoming train seals their fate. Now, I usually spend time debunking these myths so we can laugh them off as campfire stories. But the Pope Lick Monster is different because it has real-world consequences, and they're tragic. That rusty trestle is not abandoned. It's actually a highly active daily route for massive high-speed freight trains. Over the decades, dozens of teenagers and curiosity seekers have climbed up there looking for the Goatman, only to realize too late that the bridge has no walkways, nowhere to hide, and no way to outrun a real train coming out of the dark. So today we're diving into the bizarre origins of the Pope Lick Monster myth. Let's get spooky. Where local folklore and physical reality meet, there is often a tension where the boundaries between the myth and the danger become blurred. In the Fisherville area of Jefferson County, Kentucky, this is illustrated by the Pope Trestle. It's 90 feet above the Pope Lick Creek, and this massive Norfolk Southern railway structure is the primary habitat for one of the most enduring urban legends in the United States, the Pope Lick Monster. For over 3 generations, the legend of a part man, part goat hybrid has lured paranormal investigators and youths and thrill seekers into an environment of extreme danger. The Pope Lick Monster, or the Goatman, is described in a way that is fairly consistent, even as the details have evolved since the advent of the internet. The most common physical description is a human-goat hybrid with an extremely deformed human torso. This creature is said to possess powerful fur-covered goat legs, and alabaster-skinned face, short, sharp horns protrude from the forehead, nestled within long, greasy hair that matches the color of the fur on the legs. There are some variations of the legend that identify the creature as Sheepman, portraying a part man, part sheep hybrid. And there's been suggestion that the transition from sheep to goat in the lore is related to the goat's long-standing association with the demonic, the figure of Baphomet. This is to turn the monster from just some sort of curiosity into something that has evil intent. The behavior of the Pope Lick Monster is more terrifying than how it looks. The creature is credited with supernatural abilities, such as vocal mimicry and hypnosis. The legend says that it can call out the names of those venturing out into the trestle, using the voices of their friends or loved ones to lure them deeper into the path of oncoming trains. Or the very sight of the creature is supposedly so unsettling that witnesses are driven to leap from the 90-foot structure to avoid its presence. In some accounts, the monster is described as a hunter that uses a rusty, blood-stained axe to get rid of those who enter its territory. The investigation of the Pope Lick Monster shows that there's no real birth of the myth. It's a combination of theories that show off the anxieties of the 20th century. The most popular origin story involves a late 19th century circus train that was allegedly struck by lightning and derailed near the Pope Lick Creek. The legend claims that a freak captured by a man named Colonel Beauregard Schildknecht escaped the wreckage. The creature had supposedly been abused and exploited during the traveling freak show. So it took revenge on survivors of the crash before establishing a residence below the bridge. Of course, there's no historical record of a circus train derailment at this site, although there was a significant wreck that occurred in 1909. In rural Kentucky, the Satanic panic of the 1970s and 80s contributed massively to local folklore. One theory suggests this monster is the reincarnated form of a local farmer who sacrificed goats to the devil in exchange for supernatural power. Upon his death, he was reportedly transformed into the very thing he sacrificed, cursed to hunt the bridge as a demonic hybrid. This story includes reports from the nearby Four Winds Farm, which was rumored to be a site for cult activity and ritualistic animal mutilations. Another variation suggests that the Pope Lick monster is the product of a failed genetic experiment. This myth suggests that a lab, some evil lab, maybe hidden in the Kentucky hills, attempted to merge human and animal DNA. And the result was a creature, and the creature escaped into the wild, finding the seclusion of the bridge to be an ideal habitat. This story shows modern anxieties regarding biotechnology and government secrecy, mirroring other cryptid origins such as the Maryland Goatman. The Pope Lick Trestle is about 772 feet. It was constructed in the late 19th century, and it is a narrow iron and wood bridge that is owned by the Norfolk Southern Railway. The danger of the bridge is because of how it's designed and how modern rail transportation works. It doesn't have a pedestrian walkway, it doesn't have safety railings, and there's no refuge holes for individuals caught on the bridge during the approach of a train to duck into. There's no room for a human to remain on the bridge safely while a train passes. The choices are either be struck by the locomotive, jump from the 90-foot height, or attempt to hang from the railroad ties. And that last option is a physical impossibility due to the intense vibrations generated by heavy freight trains, which can literally shake a human off. The silent approach of a train is another risk because of the geography of the Floyd's Folk area and the way that the bridge reflects sound. A train can end up right on a trespasser before they're aware that it's coming. This sort of fuels the lore of the creature's hypnosis, as victims often appear paralyzed or unable to move in the seconds before impact. The Pope Lick monster has killed people, but not by way of supernatural attacks. There have been documented casualties of individuals engaged in visiting this folklore site for a spooky trip or a legend trip. The death of Raquel Bain in 2016 is an example of this. Bain was a tourist from Ohio. She had traveled to the area specifically to investigate the monster with her boyfriend. When a train approached at 32 miles per hour, the couple was caught on the bridge. Her boyfriend managed to survive by dangling from the side of the bridge, but Bain was unable to secure herself and was struck, plunging to the ground. This incident shows off the global reach of the legend and also shows that it continues to remain dangerous despite the fact that people have been warned about doing this. There are two types of disappearances associated with the Pope Lick Creek monster. There are those who went missing while, again, legend tripping or checking out the Pope Lick Creek Bridge for a spooky adventure. And then there are unsolved missing person cases in the broader Louisville area that have been retrospectively linked to the monster by the community. The Parklands of Floyd's Fork have reports that approximately 30 active missing persons files exist for individuals who entered the park system and never returned. Many of these cases are likely the results of accidents or exposure in the dense Kentucky wilderness. But the legend of the Goatman provides a convenient explanation for the bereaved and the curious. One notable occurrence was in August 2019 when a trail maintenance crew found a weathered royal blue backpack belonging to Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson was a man who had gone missing in the area years prior. The backpack was located in a remote area between Aspen Valley and Smith Peak, far away from where Jackson was expected to be. These discoveries fuel the lore that something heavier than any known animal stalks the woods, making noises that vibrate through the chests of those nearby. Also, the city of Louisville has been haunted by high-profile disappearances, such as Ann Gottlieb, who vanished from a mall in 1983, and Andrea Knabel, a missing person who disappeared in 2019. These cases have no direct link to the Pope Lick monster, but the fact that they're close to the Pope Lick Triangle contributes to a pervasive atmosphere of unease. The Pope Lick Triangle is a region of high strangeness encompassing French Lick, Big Bone Lick, and Pope Lick Creek. The triangle theory suggests that this area is a focal point for UAPs, abductions, and cryptid sightings, dating back almost 1,000 years. If you investigate the lore of the monster, you have to consider the sociological climate of the 1970s and 80s. During this time, there was a satanic panic that led to a series of rumors regarding the Four Winds farm on Pope Lick Road. The farm was suspected by locals of being the headquarters for a satanic cult that worshipped the Pope Lick monster as a physical manifestation of the devil. Reports from this era describe strange tribal drum beats and chanting emanating from the woods behind the farm's barn. This time saw an increase in reports of missing domestic animals, like dogs, cats, and livestock, which were suspected to be used in strange ceremonies. Modern sociologists categorize the satanic panic as a moral panic, but the effects of the legend were real. The monster evolved from a physical freak into a spiritual predator. It's a chilling reminder of the hostile environment searchers faced during the peak of the monster's notoriety. One interesting angle of this story involves the role of the Norfolk Southern Railway in maintaining the site. Following the death of 15-year-old Savannah Bright in 2019, her parents filed a lawsuit against the railroad company. The litigation raised questions about whether the company had done enough to secure the bridge, given its awareness of the legend and the history of deaths. The investigation into the Norfolk Southern safety culture revealed broader issues. The company was criticized for its adoption of precision scheduling railroading, which is a strategy that utilizes longer, heavier trains with fewer personnel to maximize profit. This practice has been linked to the increased risk of derailments and accidents. In the case of the Pope Lick Trestle, the company has installed an 8-foot fence, but thrill seekers continue to find points of entry. The lawsuit by the Bright family sought to hold the company accountable for what they perceived as a failure to present access to a known death trap. The survival of the Pope Lick monster into this century is due to its spread in the media and theater. There have been two particular works that help solidify this bridge's status as a cultural landmark. One was directed by Ron Schiltneck, and it's a 16-minute film that provides a visual template for the myth. It depicts a youth attempting to survive a train passage by hanging from the ties. The film created inadvertently, but it did create a how-to guide for a maneuver that would kill most. The film's release was met with anger from railroad officials who argued it would serve as an attractive nuisance for teenagers. There was also a play by Naomi Wallace, and it elevated the legend to high art. It was set during the Great Depression, and the play uses the racing of trains across the trestle as a metaphor for the struggle for identity and survival in a crumbling economy. The play is obviously a work of drama, but its popularity created a bravery test at the bridge that has remained a part of the culture. Any truth behind the circus train legend may actually lie in the mundane mechanical failure documented in 1909. Archives from the Courier-Journal report a train wreck at the Pope Lick Trestle that was caused by a broken brake beam. The 1909 report doesn't mention any monsters or circus animals, but it shows that there was, in fact, a mechanical catastrophe at this site. In the early 20th century, accidents like this were often accompanied with highly colored and exaggerating accounts circulated by a media to sell newspapers. It's likely that over the ensuing years, the memory of this wreck was combined with the elements of traveling circus culture to produce the escaped freak story. Looking into the Pope Lick Creek monster, it shows that there's a complex thing going on here where folklore acts as a primary driver of a physical tragedy. The monster is a sociological construct that shows off the inherent dangers of industrial infrastructure. The Pope Lick monster remains a great example of how a legend can become an experience instead of just a myth. As long as the bridge remains a destination for those seeking to test their courage, the monster will continue to claim victims because the freight trains are completely indifferent. Please subscribe to this channel, The Spooky Lawyer. Please like and share this video. If you'd like to support the channel, you can become a member. I appreciate you considering this. You can also support the channel by continuing to watch my videos. Please stay spooky.